On the Sunday, the 18th, in the radiant colonnade of St. Peter's Square, with the incense, with the gospel proclamations in Greek, the shuffling robes of the clergy, and 250,000 pilgrims in ancient gesture took on a new life, the Bishop of Rome greeted the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople as Pope Leo the 14th began his pontificate. Bartholomew and Leo met. And to the they met on Saturday actually, but to the untrained eye, and then Patriarch Bartholomew the Ecumenical Patriarch was present at the Mass on Sunday. To the untrained eye, this may appear a mere photo opportunity, two old men in elaborate hats saying nice things about peace and prayer. But for those of us who want to acquire who want to see a theological point here, the theological fault lines running from 1054 to 2025, the handshake between the Latin West and the Orthodox East is no small affair. And this meeting was decades in the making, and Patriarch Bartholomew, the indefatigable apostle of ecumenism, has met several popes, but his partnership with Pope Francis was a particularly fruitful one. They planned boldly historically to commemorate the first ecumenical council of 325 together in Nicaea, modern-day Iznik, where the Church once attempted to define its orthodoxy in defiance of heresy and imperial pressure, and it was a dream delayed by death, as Pope Francis died before it could be realised. And now, under the watchful gaze of the faithful and the ghosts of history, it falls to Pope Leo the 14th and His All Holiness Patriarch Bartholomew to carry that vision forward. And Pope Leo, the first Augustinian Pope, the first American Pope, born in Chicago but with a CV that reads like an ecclesiastical version of Around the World in 80 Days, stood in the shoes of the fishermen and invoked peace, and the symbolism of the event was rich. The Gospels read in Greek, the vesting in the robes of the Good Shepherd, the solemn placing of the fisherman's ring upon his finger. And among the global dignitaries, Zelensky, Vance, van der Leyen, it was Bartholomew's presence, I think, that spoke most loudly in the ecclesiastical imagination. Here was not merely a guest, but a potential co-pilot in the long voyage towards Christian reconciliation. And in the privacy of the Apostolic Palace, the two men have met. And their discussion, we're told, centered on the shared burdens of the Church, the defense of the poor, the call to peace, the duty to stand together in a world that seems increasingly deaf to divine whispers. But what is most striking is not merely what they said, but what they planned, and the confirmation that they will travel together to Nicaea, modern-day Iznik, at the end of November this year. This is more than a sentimental gesture, it's a theological act. Nicaea is no arbitrary location. It's where the creed was born, where heresy was rebuked, where East and West for a moment spoke with one voice. And I will put out a video. I went to Nicaea about a month ago and I made a video about the basilica there. I also met a wonderful person who baked bread, and I met a very interesting a person who produced little trinkets. And so those three videos I will put out shortly about modern day Iznik, and also a few other sites around the Asian side of Turkey. Nicaea is no arbitrary location. It's where the creed was born, and it's this is a theological act where there can be a sense of union. They intend to mark the 1700th anniversary of that council on the feast of St. Andrew, the patron of the Church of Constantinople, the patron of Scotland, of course. This visit may also include a papal pilgrimage to the Fanar itself, the spiritual heart of Eastern Orthodoxy. If so, it would be the first such visit in decades, and one steeped in symbolic reciprocity. Ecumenical dialogue is often mistaken for ecclesiastical small talk. It's not. It's the costly and painstaking work of reconciling schism of healing ancient wounds, and Pope Leo's choice of the name Leo is already loaded. Leo I defended Chalcedonian orthodoxy. Leo XIII was a pioneer of social Catholicism and early ecumenism. Leo XIV is reaching for both traditions, orthodoxy and openness. Let's not pretend this is easy. The divines remain over papal primacy, the filioque, over sacramental discipline, the definition of purgatory, and the Russian Orthodox Church with Patriarch Kirill's muted but notably Irenic message to Leo XIV is both a potential bridge and a barricade. One remembers with some irony Pope Francis's rebuke to Kirill, "You must not become Putin's altar boy." Yet here we are, trying again. What Bartholomew and Leo represent is a possibility, fragile but profound, that the Church can be both Catholic and Catholic, universal in geography and in spirit. And allow me a moment of levity. There's a certain charm in our new Pope. Not only is he rumoured to have acted out liturgies as a child, where other children might have played football or played with dolls, he also holds a degree in mathematics. One almost imagines him solving the Nicene Creed with a compass and a slide rule. Mathematics seems to me, in terms of secular study, to be the height of academic ambition. To be a good mathematician is to have a fine mind that is dealing with abstract thought. I was doing a philosophy class the other day, and one of my students asked me why there is so much obsession in the beginning of philosophy with the philosophy of religion, and particularly with the ontological argument, which he said was hokum. And I pointed out, well, it might be hokum, but Bertrand Russell believed it was true, at least for the period of time it took him to walk from one side of a Cambridge quad to another. So at least for a minute, the ontological argument appeared to work. But the ontological argument is the first time a student will really get to grips with abstract philosophy, with abstract thought. And so unless a student has been schooled in mathematics, this is the first time that a student deals with that sort of abstraction. So a mathematician may have the advantage. As for Pope Leo, he's moved into the papal apartment, which Francis rather monastically declined, and he seems ready to tackle his role with a blend of ancient seriousness and modern wit. There are whispers from American conservatives about him being a Marxist and a woke pope, as if Blessed are the Poor were a recent addition to the gospel. But he presses on, bolstered now by a friendship with one of the great ecumenical figures of our age. So what do we take from this meeting? Perhaps simply this, that after centuries of mutual excommunication, suspicion, and division, two successors of apostles met, Peter and Andrew's heirs, and said to one another, "Not depart from me, but come and see. And in a world weary of walls and war, that is no small grace."